Sudan also has another commodity that people love and hedge their bets in, which is gold. And when you look at the amount of gold that the UAE exports, it's inconsistent with a country that itself does not have known gold reserves. So where's the gold coming from? It's the same way that certain precious minerals get exported through Rwanda, but they're not necessarily produced in Rwanda. How's that happening? I don't know.
Where are they produced from?
You know, so these
these are the questions.
These are the questions. So with that respect, it's looking at, there are Sudanese people here who are doing the work, who are traveling to Egypt to support refugees and so on and so forth. And people often say, what does that have to do with me? But coming back to this whole thing of like everything and everyone is connected.
Connected, yeah.
Right? If Darren goes to Dover and he sees small boat migrant come across and he's saying, why is he coming here? Then he has to know that his government is allowing the sale of weapons from X to Y.
Now listening to the In My Opinion podcast, the home of edutainment, brought to you by 𝐃𝐨𝐧'𝐭, DTM, and 𝐬𝐮𝐫𝐿. So get your drinks, snacks, relax, and enjoy.
Moving on to the main topic of conversation, man. My brother, you're very knowledgeable.
Israel.
Thank you, brother.
You've got a platform called Novo.
Indeed.
How did it start? Are you qualified? Like, are you educated?
So,
Are you educated?
am I educated?
I wanted to know as well, innit? Yeah,
You want to know if I'm internet ready or not, you know? It's like,
Educated.
And cramming ChatGPT
That's
before
facts.
the camera.
no.
Someone's got like a young board there. He's just reading off of.
What sent you down this route?
No, so there's no, first off, I don't do scripts. So that's number one.
I can kind of tell.
Then two, usually a lot of the research that's done is like on the same day or weeks before or so on and so forth. But I'll look at all sorts. So it's never just one source. Even if it's sources I disagree with or from papers I disagree with, it's all the same. You need to have a broad media diet. The Telegraph, The Guardian, Financial Times, The Economist, BBC News, Byline Times, etc., 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 etc. So there's that. In terms of qualification, then for me, right now I have my bachelor's of Law and Anthropology from the London School of Economics.
What? Say that again.
Anthropology.
Law and Anthropology from
Anthropology.
Indeed.
What's that one, brother?
That's the study of human beings.
Oh, shit.
So over 3 years, it could be we're doing studying revolution or we're studying economic exchange, production, globalization. So it's many different
Don't let
things
that go
chopped
over
up.
here, that LSE as well, you know.
I was about to say
Don't let that go over your head, bro.
I'm not School of Economics.
Yeah,
London
don't let that
School
go
of
over your head,
Economics
bro.
and Political Science.
You did what in political science?
So the university is called the London School of
Oh,
Economics
yeah,
and
yeah,
Political
yeah.
Science. I did anthropology and law, qualifying law degree, 2-1.
Oh, sick.
Now I have, actually, I don't know how much I can even speak about this, but
I mean, this is the platform. It's a safe space. You feel free.
But I'm going to be a lawyer in the future. Let's say that. 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 Let's say that.
Somebody said that because I was like, have you considered taking up people's cases?
What law are you
Oh no! Funnily enough, so the law firm, or rather the law that I'm going to do is it's all sorts, civil, commercial, all sorts, family,
didn't have
personal
immigration?
injury, etc. I've done immigration law before. I was a paralegal at an
Man said he
immigration
left
firm.
that one. Nah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
I might do it like on the side, part time, helping people out.
They need your help.
No, it's
bro.
true.
They
It's
need
true.
your
It's
people. They
true.
need your
Filling application form is
No,
it's money, you know.
actually needed a lawyer when Michelle Obama took the same name as our podcast.
Oh,
Oh yeah, Michelle Obama took our
Yeah,
name,
and we were
man.
trying to get quotes, but now I'm gonna quotes on iPhone.
yeah.
Someone said 5 bags right
No, you're not beating the Obama money as well, is it?
We had to let it go, so maybe we can discuss that.
After they send me an email.
You know what it is? Yeah, we got confused, yeah, because you know, I know they be the proper ones. They be sitting in Temple, you know.
Yeah,
them places.
Temple, City of
We're
London.
used to those lawyers are both Peckham High Street. We're used to go to those ones, so that's why you're shocked at that quote. But that's what it be.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true.
The ones that do leave a post at the bus stop.
Yeah, that's what you're
Day
used
or
to.
night.
Go and sit in the one in Temple. We will play a different ball game. Yeah.
Nah, but bro, big congratulations, man.
Thanks,
Those are
man.
big qualifications.
Thanks,
Yeah.
thanks,
I'm
thanks,
very
thanks.
proud of you.
We're not done. We're not done.
Oh, sorry.
We're not done. No, sorry.
Sorry, can you
So-
keep going?
And then with that, what I like to do is I like to sort of. So right now I'm studying SQE. Yeah, so I'm gonna be done in that soon as well. That's
What's
the solicitor
SQ?
qualification exam.
Okay, cool.
So it's closed book. You just have to memorize. But that's one of the things that I'll say I'm good at. So then before that, A levels, it was biology, English, lit, history. It was 2 A stars and an A.
Let's see, wow.
Yeah. Oh, and then in terms of Novo, so that started first as like, when I was young, I used to love this idea that one day I'm going to start a business, I'm going to employ all my friends and family, and we're going to have a tower in this city and that city and so on and so forth. But when I first started that, it was called a different name. And it was too much at once. It was shopping, we're going to do articles, we're going to have this, that. It was
So many different stuff.
It was too much. But then it sort of narrowed in focus over time. And now I would describe it as a sort of a platform that asks important questions, that tries to get people involved in the political debate. I really like the idea of the philosopher king, the idea that if we're all in this society, then we should all contribute to a degree. But that's not just contribution in terms of charity. That's contribution in the sense that where do you want the society to go? Where do you want it to end up? And there's so many people I know who just want to sort of make the money and go, or they want to just be with their friends and family. But as I said in the previous sort of thing, we owe so much to so many people. And also there's a lot of stuff that we encounter on a day-to-day that we just think, that's not right. Like, why is it sole trader or limited company or whatever has to declare this much in income? And then I've got newspaper owners like Lord Rothermere moving assets from the UK to offshore owned companies like Rothermere Continuation Limited and this kind of thing. So platform that's asking questions, gets people involved in the political debate. And then right now we're in a stage of trying to expand. So we're trying to bring in young people, graduates and so on and so forth. Because I can't be everywhere. I can't cover every topic. And also sometimes you're just not the right messenger for what somebody needs. You know, somebody called Dave living in Slough. He needs to hear from Dave in Slough. Somebody who's, you know, black, white, Asian, gay, straight, or like whatever they are, they need to hear from
You want their representatives.
their people. And I feel like there's a model in my mind that can be done to a degree. As for me, I know I'm going to be doing it in some way, shape or form till I'm dead. Like, it's an expression of like myself. There's other interests and stuff that I have too, but this one in some way, shape or form, it has to survive going forward, even if it's not me who's like the face of it in the future.
But what sent you down this?
Oh, down
I
this?
don't want to call it this route. Did you
So,
just wake up one morning and thought?
So if you like, there's almost, so me personally, I have a professional page where we maybe talk law, talk politics, etc., etc. That's just me. That's my name, Yisrael J. Arthur.
Oh yeah, it's called what's it called?
Yisrael J. Arthur.
Okay.
And then there's that one there, and then that one, you know, if I go give a speech, they invited, you know, punk music.
Yeah.
I'd never been to that kind of, but they invited me there. I went and spoke. It was wonderful.
Oh wow.
Yeah. But so that would be that kind of thing. And then with Novo, it's just focused more on sort of political questions, but media as well. So we want to start making the documentaries in this one and that one. But in terms of what set me down that emotionally, if you like, or spiritually, is me feeling like, one, I've got to give back to the community, to the family, to the world. Two, I feel like, not to like be boastful or whatnot, but I feel like I've got talent.
Of course.
Everybody's got talent as well. And it's like, if you got talent, you're going to die one day. You know, some people, they know that they're going here or they're going there. Some people, they're not too sure or whatever. But what you definitely know is that you're going. And if you're going, then it means you only got a limited amount of time.
That's right.
And if you got a limited amount of time and you can be hit by this tomorrow or that tomorrow, whatever it happens to be, then you got to make do with what you have. And I think, so it was 2020. So all sorts of stuff happened in this year. I think Kobe died at some point. My grandmother died. I can't go and see this person. I can't go and see that person. And so out of all these different emotions, if you like, this sort of recognition that you're going to die is, you know, pressure makes the diamonds. So out of that comes, okay, let's do this. You start with articles at first. People don't read. Then it was, okay, what do people do then? I see Uncle on the bus. I saw Uncle on the buses.
Swiping.
And so on and so forth. So it became the short form video. It was other kind of video. And then when Boris Johnson was resigning, this was like 2022, he said, okay, this vertical format, I can definitely deliver here as well. So then it changed to that. And then all sorts of stuff has happened in the world since then. Cost of living, genocide in Gaza, Ukraine, Sudan, etc. All these different aspects and elements that sort of really pushed just the fact that somebody was asking questions to a higher and higher level. And I know the thing works, because we got banned off TikTok at one point when we'd hit like 20K or something like that. And, oh no, it was 30K. And we got banned because of one video about Tommy Robinson, another video about Tommy Robinson, and then one about the Olympic boxer Imran Khalif. And that one got us, altogether, the account was gone. And then we have an account now, I think it's on like 30 or 40K now.
On TikTok, yeah?
Yeah, on TikTok. And so it's a case of, I know it has, and I can see where it ends up as well in terms of the vision. But emotionally, that's where that came from. And then it's the feeling that you gotta like nurture the talent, you gotta let it grow wings and fly.
That's facts.
So into what you actually speak about on the channel, right? One of the questions that I'm really intrigued to get from you is when it comes to politics, right? A lot of young people, a lot of black people are disenfranchised when it comes to politics. And like, do you know what? There's no point voting. They're all the same. Illuminati run the world. Do you actually, number one, think it's important for people to vote? And why?
So number one on the vote, yeah, I do think it's important. I think, so there's two levels to this. There's personal responsibility in that we all have to be accountable for our actions, and then there's structural stuff. There's some stuff that people feel that if they knew the circumstance in which you can be allowed to feel that kind of thing, then they would probably be very angry and upset, because the black poverty rate, say in the UK, has remained at something like 40% for like the last 25 years. If you're living in oversubscribed housing, if your transport links are not very good, if your parents, grandparents, uncles, aunties, cousins are stuck in certain lines of work, it could be manual labor again and again, or things that expose their bodies to pain and suffering and to developing disease. There's a reason why people from black and ethnic minority backgrounds were oversubscribed in COVID deaths and this kind of thing, because they're the people making the economy work. You know, if I leave a hotel today and I see who's cleaning the room after me, they're more likely to look like me than they're likely to look like King Charles. So in that sort of situation, I can see why people don't feel disenfranchised. I run a project with my brother and sister called the 𝐶𝐭 Project, named after my late grandmother's bakery in Ghana. And with that one, it's community focused, local projects. Maybe somebody's died in Manchester, and you help raise funds for the community and that kind of thing. And we did a project before the last election. We went to this part of Moston where is more black people, more African people, and we were just asking people whether they want. We were trying to get people to sign up to vote, because I've done some work with Operation Black Vote before, and people were given these reasons. Maybe it's that they didn't feel, based on their immigration status, that they could go and vote. Maybe they just didn't think it would work. I spoke to two aunties who said they hadn't wanted to vote since 1997, Tony Blair, and they're like, right, Tony Blair. Tony Blair. You have to say it right, it's Tony Blair.
Tony Blair.
So all sorts of reasons for people to be disenfranchised. So that's one. And then two, in terms of why it's important, well, you only got to look at the history. Who's died and who suffered to get you to vote? If it wasn't, I see these things as like tools, yeah? So social media is a tool. Voting is a tool. Getting into good physical shape is a tool. All these things are tools in your arsenal to make a dent on the world. Voting is just one of them. It's not something that you just do and then that's it. Because politics happens to you every day. If today the government announces new immigration changes, it's going to affect maybe not you tomorrow, but maybe one of your descendants or somebody here or somebody there or whoever. So voting is just one part of that. And it's clear that it can get power, because you could have a 𝐷𝐾𝐿 as mayor, you could have a Susan Hall or Sean Bailey as mayor. You can have Jeremy Corbyn or you can have Keir Starmer. You have choices that can be made, and those choices then go on to impact how you can run a business, how much tax you pay, the state of your school, hospital. But it's only one part of it.
But just quick follow-up question onto that, yeah? There are some people that'll say like things like, oh, like with black people especially, when you come from that, again, you're talking about from the disenfranchised community, like we should really focus more on galvanizing ourselves. Find that, build that community and find, okay, cool, what's our common, what common goal do we have? So that way, when we're gonna go and vote as a unit, we have a demand of something. Because again, for as long as I can think back to black people voting, running up and down, but you talk about black poverty still 40 years, it's not moved, 45 years. So my thing is we're voting, but there's no change in our community. So it's shouldn't black people remove themselves from the voting thing, come and find a way to, because that's the next step for us. We still have bigger issue, which is to come together first, before looking to vote? What would you say to people that might have that kind of thinking?
To that, I'll say I get it. Like it's an emotionally like resonant argument. It's the argument that people like the Nation of Islam used to make in America. It's an argument that Moors used to make in America. It's an argument that different groups of people have made at different times. And yet, part of the reason that those groups are sort of stuck, if you like, in a certain century and stuck with a certain like power base, it's almost like, why can't they expand beyond that? Is because it doesn't reflect reality. It doesn't reflect how people live their lives, and it doesn't reflect the fact that you can do both. If I would go to vote, it takes how long? 10, 15 minutes. If I go to a local school, tick box, I'm done. Yeah. Politics is everything that happens in the 364 days besides the election day when you vote. And on that level, black people in the UK have always done, if you like, stuff to boost and strengthen their community and also be politically engaged. I think one of the sad things is that sometimes people feel like they're losing that. Like, if you were to think of, 𝐵𝐺𝐴. Where's the next 𝐵𝐺𝐴 from? Or why haven't you seen an 𝐵𝐺𝐴 10 years after 𝐵𝐺𝐴 came onto the scene, or this kind of thing? And he's a product of that Black Sunday Schools project with the Black British Panthers and others. And that means that it's possible to both have those structures that reinforce and strengthen the black community on education, on employment, on all these different things, and at the same time engage in voting as one of these many tools.
Okay, brilliant.
So, obviously the state of the country right now is quite mad. It's quite, there's a lot of division.
A lot of uncertainty.
I mean, everything's just polarized, and the rise of the Reform Party, which I know you've documented quite a lot. And we were having a debate with my family around, English people hanging the flags because they're patriotic and they're saying, give us our country back. They want all the foreigners gone. And obviously I'm Ugandan. And back in the 70s, you know what Idi Amin did?
1972, yeah.
1972 expelled all the Asians. And they were likening it to that. Like, if one country is allowed to be patriotic and say we want our country back, why do you think it's so bad the way these lot are doing it? Well,
there's many different ways to answer that. One is, where in the world has ethno-nationalism worked? Worked as a long-term solution, yeah? Look at the Israeli government under Benjamin Netanyahu right now. They're pursuing what is described as ethno-nationalism. If you're in the West Bank, you are tried in military courts. You got 99% conviction rates. 1 million Palestinians detained or in prison since 1967. This is the situation that you got 500 checkpoints, blockades, so on and so forth, right? Is that a vision of a successful society? Is that a vision of a harmonious society? If you produce a society where you have people threatening to shut down the government, Israelis that is, protesting on the street, marching when they tried to make judicial reforms, and at the same time your government can be accused of genocide at the International Court of Justice, that's not really a model that people should be saying, oh yeah, let's sign up, let's do that. But what do you hear from people who want to make England or Britain an ethno-nationalist state? They often compare themselves to the Israeli government and they say, look how successful they are doing over there. I don't think that's a model that you necessarily want to follow. But in terms of people reclaiming a country, I think there's two different ways of looking at that. If you move the ethnic side of it out, then there's a feeling of sovereignty that people want to have. And historically in Britain, that's reared its head at different times. Brexit referendum, before that, times in which people want to reassert this feeling like there's no control. So for example, when the government announces the budget in the tail end of November, they have to pay attention to what the bond markets say. Bond markets are just investors, banks, pension funds, billionaires, millionaires, all sorts of people, but often people with a bit of wealth and clout, yeah? Now we live in such a world where if a prime minister wants to do X, Y, and Z, he has to check with people abroad and internationally before he does it. Or previously, one of the reasons people were upset about the European Union is because they felt these are people making decisions that are affecting us here, but we can't control it. So on that level, I understand it, where you feel like you don't have control over your own community, over your own police, because it's a feeling that's it's a human feeling. If a black child like 𝐃𝐨𝐬 is strip searched at school because she supposedly smelled of weed, and there's no immediate mechanism for you to change police policy instantly. It was supposed to be the crime and police commissioners, but that's now being scrapped. But if there's no way for you to do that, then you feel weakened. You feel maybe it's emasculated. You feel less human because you've been dehumanized by your circumstances. So I think a lot of the reason that you're seeing flags being put up is because people feel like they're not able to exercise a certain level of sovereignty over their own lives. They're not able to control things that are affecting them. When a Freddo bar has shrunk and also gone up in price over the last couple of years, and there's nothing that they can do to influence that process, well, you're gonna be angry. You're gonna be annoyed. If now your grandma could buy a house, but your son is now struggling, he's left university, he's got a job, he's trying his hard, he's living at home to save extra money, and he still can't put it down for the mortgage in a place that he wants. What are you gonna do? If you're looking at a situation where you've got kids now, 13, 12, carrying samurai sword on the street, and it feels like there's nothing the government can seem to do to arrest the problem, then of course you're gonna be angry, you're gonna be upset. But there's two ways of looking at it. One is which you say, let's blame the ethnic or this group or that group. Yeah. No one's saying grooming gangs didn't exist. No one's saying that in some of the cases in Rochdale or Manchester or Bury or wherever, that there wasn't higher rates for, say, Pakistani Muslim men of a certain background. But if you look at, say, the actual statistics more broadly, like the Center for Expertise on Child Sexual Abuse, you're talking about statistics that reflect the demographics amongst the country, which is what you would expect. But even if you had a particular problem with particular people, so there was a big thing about drill and knife crime a couple of years ago, but 𝐶𝐭 had a great point, and it was, why do we use blackness to explain kids stabbing each other, but if the youngest child to get a Mensa score, you know, being recognized as a genius, you're not using blackness to explain that then, are you? Or if black boys and girls are getting some of the best GCSE or A-level grades, you're not using blackness there as an explanatory factor. And why is it in Glasgow, where the demographics are very different to London, that kids are also stabbing kids? You don't go and say, oh, where are the fathers in white society in Glasgow? So you can look at the ethnic stuff, it just won't get you that far. Or you can look at the broader circumstances in which influence the situation that people find themselves in. As in, why is it that you've lost £200 billion since houses were, you know, you could buy your house, a council house, but then they weren't building new houses, they weren't using the revenue.
Privatize everything, isn't it? Yeah.
And in that sort of situation, it's like, who do you blame? Who are you angry at? And I think there's one story we can tell as a country, as people, where we say, this is the story, where we take back that control, where we reassert ourselves. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to, you're going to turn on this one tap and everything's going to be all right. But you're going to have to work for it. And we're all going to pull together and plug for it. Or you have a world in which you say, we're going to blame people from Pakistan or people from India or people from Nigeria for all the problems in the UK.
That's brilliant.
That's very crazy.
In saying that then, right, what does it look like the next 5 years in the UK? Because as you know, I'm sure you're aware, a lot of people are moving out because people don't recognize what's going on anymore. People can't really even, talking about kids staying home longer to save money. You just don't seem to be able to have the like. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. It feels like you're just working. It's like a endless vicious cycle. Like when am I gonna be successful? When am I gonna own a house? You know, those traditional like standard things to make set up your life. People aren't doing that at the age people feel like that anyways. Or even that's even possible. What do you think the way forward is? Or should people be more positive about what's to happen? Or is it going to get worse? Is it going to get better? What do you think?
Well, there's some stuff to be positive about.
Right.
In that,
I was going to ask that.
In that, if you're born today, you're more likely to live longer than your grandparents were.
Are you sure?
Yeah, depending on where you're looking at and which demographic and whatnot. But generally, yes, you're more likely to have healthier years. You are more likely to have access to amenities and commodities that people could have never dreamed of so long ago. However, the caveat is, if you like, there's a world which we go down where Britain continues to slide down the GDP rankings, where people get less pay, where because people are also angry about immigration, they reduce and cut that, but then that also puts pressure onto universities and public services, and so everything basically just continues to get worse and it's a sort of doom loop. That's one way it could go.
A doom loop is crazy.
And then there's another way it can go if people continue to educate themselves, get involved, get organized, and that it's not necessarily saying you're going to transform the whole thing, but you shift the balance, you mitigate, you know? So the slide happens more slowly, or perhaps you even get some positive outcomes. Because between, say, like 1997 and 2007, you had kids' scores were going up, living standards were going up, disposable income was going up. So it is possible for you to have a different sort of situation. But I do get that it's tough because my own sister's thinking, oh, I did a year in Australia. I saw what it's like. I saw what they're paying
a lot of people
health professionals there. It's like, why do I need to be here for me to suffer for what? But then coming back to that point about who we're connected to and who we owe what to, we probably owe a lot more to Britain
than you do
to Australia. So it's on what level should we be just also trying to correct the ship if we feel like it's going the wrong way, as opposed to saying abandon ship.
I see what you mean. Your mind says more like fix the ship rather than jump ship.
Yeah, because for me, it's like I'm gonna put in a good shift. If it still doesn't work after that, then we'll see. Then we'll talk.
Then you gotta
then
jump.
we'll talk.
So you're saying to everyone right now, don't jump ship yet, but always have that plan B on the side. Have your raft. What's the escape raft on the side?
Because there's many things you can do even in the meantime to sort of protect yourself and your family.
For example?
So, for example, I'm a big believer, when you look at whether or not people in our community, and obviously it's difficult, but to even save and invest, you have a trade in 212 account. You have some extra skills that you can get on the side. Can you start a little small business, some content creation here or there? There's many little things that you can do to build yourself a little moat.
Yeah.
You know, the moat maybe starts off as a kiddie pool,
and then
you're going above and above. It doesn't mean that if it doesn't work or you try and then you decide, actually, this is not for me, but it's saying that there's so much more that we can squeeze out of ourselves, but also out of our community as well, if we were to, learn some things, try some things, etc. So it's all to play for.
But is there a way my main issue a lot of times is always to do with the black community.
And
I feel like there's a lot of talking, no action. But I feel like based on a lot of things I've heard right now it's very impossible to have action with no funds.
To a degree. To a degree.
Yeah,
but
so
what
is
I'd
there
say
anything we can put in place to have that fund so that we can have some sort of power?
Well, that's what some people think. Mr. Money Jar or something, I think that's what his name was. He had this idea, why don't we have our own little sovereign, black-owned British fund that would help support businesses and this kind of thing.
All that type of stuff.
So it's possible. And people are doing that on like a small scale.
Smaller scale,
okay.
But what we haven't seen yet is a sort of nationally focused type of organization and that kind of thing behind it. Because a lot of this stuff doesn't necessarily require funding. If everybody here gave 1 hour to help somebody do X, Y, Z or whatever it was, that's going to be worth however much money you can think of. I once knew, I didn't know, but we once almost contracted a barrister at the firm that I worked for. His hourly rate was £10,000. £10,000 per hour, hourly rate. My senior partners was like £1,000 an hour, depending on what he was doing. Jesus. So in that sort of world, you don't know how invaluable your time or effort is to somebody else. Everybody gives an hour to a food bank. Everybody gives an hour to a soup kitchen or whatever it is. So you can build these institutions. And I get what you're saying. What's something that you can make today that makes a difference to somebody's life? But there's so many things that people right now are in their bedrooms thinking away, planning away, that are on the way.
On the way.
And then there's things that we can actually also go out ourselves and try and find too. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Really quick, I know we're coming to the end soon.
Yes.
But there is something that we need to discuss. Because the man them, they love DXB. They love Dubai.
It's true.
Do you know what I mean? There's even DOT Dubai coming up Bandang. But we've had news. We've had news Bandang that the UAE allegedly is funding a genocide in South Sudan. And I just thought, as the man with the facts, could you give us any...
Is it alleged or is it a fact?
Could you give us the facts on this?
So I'd say is the British government, for example, has already admitted at some level that it knows its own weapons are being found on the battlefield in Sudan. Now, in Sudan, we're talking about scenes of violence where you can see the blood from space. In certain instances, you can see the blood from space. So in that sort of scenario where you have... and Sudan's a huge country. Millions and millions and millions and millions of people. According to DEC, you have at least, actually, no, that's wrong. The International Rescue Committee, you have 30 million people who need humanitarian aid. You've had millions of people who've already fled, who've become internally displaced or have left and become international refugees too. And British weapons have been found on the battlefield. Now, in terms of where do those British weapons come from? The United Arab Emirates has several open arms licenses with the UK, right? So say I'm a manufacturer in Wales, I make small arms and weaponry. That UK says, okay, cool, that can be exported to the United Arab Emirates because they're one of our allies. Now, the United Arab Emirates, according to the UN, has had a history previously of breaking arms embargoes. So the UN often imposes arms embargoes in situations where it thinks if more weapons get here, it's going to make the situation worse. So one of them would be in Yemen. And what happened is that some of the same forces, the Rapid Support Forces, both sides in Sudan, as in the Sudanese army and also the Rapid Support Forces, accused of war crimes. But the difference with the Rapid Support Forces is that its war crimes have an ethnic character to them. So in Sudan, you have certain tribes who are, if you like, you describe as black and African, like Masalip. And in that sort of scenario, the Rapid Support Forces have carried out ethnic violence on some of these communities. It's why they were accused of genocide and ethnic cleansing from the early 2000s all the way up into the present day. So how much of it is quote unquote alleged is difficult to say, because this is the evidence. I don't tend to tell people how to think.
Fair.
This is just the facts.
I know. I've realised about your page. You give the information, and you're like, what do you
decide.
think?
You decide.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you see blood from space, if you know British weapons are on the ground, if you know the only way these weapons, or the most likely way that some of these weapons can get through is through the United Arab Emirates, then there's additional questions, which is stuff like, for example, Sheikh Mansour. Big investment into Manchester. It's provided jobs and work for people, but at the same time, some of that money, some people feel like it's tainted by that government support for the Rapid Support Forces. You'd also have to talk about, it's not just obviously the United Arab Emirates, it's not like a racial or ethnic thing. Russia, the Wagner group and mercenaries have also been linked to support for the Rapid Support Forces too. So it's an international network, because Sudan also has another commodity that people love and hedge their bets in, which is gold. And when you look at the amount of gold that the UAE exports is inconsistent with a country that itself does not have known gold reserves.
Gold
So where's the gold coming from? It's the same way that certain precious minerals get exported through Rwanda, but they're not necessarily produced in Rwanda. How's that happening? I don't know.
Where are they produced from?
You know, so these
These are the questions.
these are the questions. So with that respect, it's looking at, there are Sudanese people here
Yeah.
who are doing the work, who are traveling to Egypt to support refugees and so on and so forth. And people often say, what does that have to do with me? But coming back to this whole thing of like everything and everyone is connected.
Connected, yeah.
Right? If Darren goes to Dover and he sees small boat migrant come across and he's saying, why is he coming here? Then he has to know that his government is allowing the sale of weapons from X to Y.
Yes, you people, I know you are watching this content, but you've not subscribed. So make sure, if you're enjoying what we are saying, you always say you're enjoying it, make sure you subscribe, you bloody civilian.
If
Exactly.
that same Darren, so there was a woman called Rhiannon White who was stabbed to death with a screwdriver, I believe it was, by a Sudanese asylum seeker called 𝐷𝐸𝐻𝐻. And in that case,
Was the one on the bus?
this, I think he followed her out of the place where she was. He might have stabbed her on the bus, but he followed her out of a place of work and then stabbed her multiple times in the head. And that's a horrible situation. People use it as a way to say, okay, this is what all asylum seekers are doing. That's clearly not the case, based on evidence from, for example, Asylum Aid from the early 2000s. The date is kind of out of date, but is what it is. But the point being that if you don't want certain people to come and seek safety, a thing that human beings have been doing throughout history, then you have to look at the fundamental causes of why somebody decides,
for safety.
let me hop on a boat.
Yeah.
Me, you'll never catch me in most forms of boat unless, you know, is maybe the more expensive kind, you know, ideally on a yacht.
Yeah.
So outside of that situation, why are people hopping on boats? You know, any of us gonna go to the English Channel and try and sail over?
Hell no.
In cold and of course not. So with these situations, whether it's the situations where it's gone wrong, or in situations where people have come over and had a great life, at the end of the day, most people still would rather stay at home. My brother, he loves his home. He doesn't want to go outside.
Yeah.
Word. And like, I don't think people understand the perilous journey that is to
Involved.
cross the English Channel on a dinghy.
It's not just Channel, it's English Channel.
You know
It's
what I mean? Like,
serious.
The waters are cold. People come with their. I've seen women breastfeeding as they're coming through, and you think they're doing this because they want to? No, it's because for some reason, what do you say? The alleged people have gone in and want to exploit the resources of their country, starting wars, and people have to flee. You would do the same if it was you to save your family.
My issue just with the, you want to call it the ethnic, like traditional British people, like they don't ask enough questions.
Well, that's coming back to that material thing. The same reason why isn't it that my mum didn't have a trading 212 account? Who's going to tell you this information for free? Who's going to give you game for free unless you ask for it? I was at state school before my year 6 teacher told my mum in year 7 that, oh, grammar school exists. Your son should go do the test. He's a smart guy. Changed my whole life. I probably wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for that kind of situation.
One little information there, yeah.
So knowledge again and again forever is power.
Key.
It's key and it's power.
Power, facts.
Yes.
No, bro, I think we're gonna need you back.
We need a part 2. I mean, there's just so much
The fact
questions.
you're
I don't think you
ending-
understand.
we had so many more questions. The fact you're ending on it, you have to come back.
Oh, for sure, bro. For sure.
Your knowledge and the way you, I don't know, you speak in our language.
Yeah.
Even though you're speaking English.
And
And that's what I'm talking about. When I came across it, I just like, this is someone speaking high level information that I understand. It's digestible. I can understand. I don't need to go and research anything or Google anything.
Nah,
you know, so.
And they will tell you, I don't like conversations like this, but
He don't. It gives him
it's
headaches.
good.
But he loves
But yeah,
it.
do you wanna
Israel is good.
just tell the people where they can find you?
Sure. Yisrael J. Arthur. You can find that on Instagram and TikTok. We run Novo as well. Many friends, family, people involved there. Shout out to Graham. And then the Kanda Project as well. That's also online. There's more as well, but I'll leave it there.
Yeah,
No, don't leave it there. And also tell the people that you're ready to come back once the guys request for me to come back.
Of course. I'll be back for part 2.
There you go. It's on camera now.
You're a friend of the show now.
Exactly.
So guys, please comment, subscribe. Any other questions you may have, so that when he does return, we got them locked, ready, and loaded.
Exactly.
As always, make sure you're following, share, subscribe, like. If you're following us on Spotify, Apple, make sure you follow as well, so that you get all the notifications. Till next time, peace.
That's all.
Thanks for listening to the In My Opinion podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, peace.